Today we will be simplifying rational expressions, and the key on this is to factor. In order to cancel terms out, we have to have factors. You see, on the top of this fraction, for the first one, x and 3 are being added together. See, it's not really x on top, it's 3 more than x. And so I could not cancel out these x's here, or even these x's, because it's not really x here, it's 3 more than x. Just like I cannot reduce the 3 and the 15, because it's not really 3, it's just saying 3 more than x. It's not really 15, we're taking 15 away from 2x and taking that away from x squared. So the only way to cancel items out, to be able to simplify, is to factor. And so the top of the fraction is, you cannot do anything with that. That's already factored. So we just rewrite x plus 3. But we can do something to the bottom of the fraction. You see, I could draw that fraction bar and look at those two, that trinomial, and I could end up factoring it as two binomials. So let's see how we can do that. So we have x times x makes x squared. Now what numbers multiply to make 15? Well, 5 and 3 do. And if I want to have a negative 2x, I would make the 5 negative and the 3 positive. And that way I can reduce this fraction. Now I've got a factor of x plus 3 on top, and I've got an x plus 3 right here. So these will now cancel. Now the common mistake is people just write the answer and say it's x minus 5, and that's the answer. But that's not the case. You see how the fraction bar is right here? That's showing us that we are dividing by x minus 5. If I did this, this would mean that the fraction bar would be underneath, and I could put a 1 underneath. And that's not what we have here. So we need to make sure we show that that x minus 5 is in the denominator. To show what's left over up top, well, when we cancel items out, we're left with 1. See, 1 times the x minus 5 will still be x minus 5. But we don't have anything to multiply the 1 on top, so we just leave it like this. 1 over x minus 5. Let's take a look at the next one. Here we have a common factor on top. You see, we can divide each of these numbers by 3. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's take that 3 on the outside, do the division, and see what's left over. We have an x plus 2. So 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 2 makes the 6. Down below, we've got ourselves a trinomial. And if we have a trinomial, try two binomials. See if it factors this way. We've got x and 2 make the x times x makes the x squared. Now 2 times 1 makes the 2. In order to get those outside-inside terms to add to make 3x, they both have to be the same sign, and they have to be both positive. And then from there we can now look for the common factors. So we see x plus 2's, those are the ones that cancel. So let's see what's left over. Well, what we have is this 3 on top of the fraction and the x plus 1 on the bottom of the fraction. That would be our answer. Well, looking at this next one, on the top of the fraction, no common factors, so we just rewrite what we've got, x minus 6. But down below, it's a trinomial, so if it factors, we're going to have two binomials. X and x make the x squared, numbers that multiply to make 6, but add, not subtract, but add because of the plus sign here, would be 6 and 1, and they have to add to make a negative 7. So we'll put both minus signs there, and those will work. So from there we can go ahead and cancel out the common factors of x minus 6. But when you cancel them out, remember 1's left on top of that fraction. So we can rewrite this as 1 over x minus 1. Well, let's take a look at the next one here. Here's a little bit different. We can factor the numerator of this. And remember, we've got just a binomial. So if a binomial that doesn't have common factors, it's going to be two binomials. But it's got to be a difference of squares. So x times x makes the x squared. Numbers that multiply to make 49 are 7 and 7. To make a negative 49, we need one is negative and one is positive. Down below, we're going to end up with two binomials again. And we're going to end up with an x plus 7. That's one of them, but the other one's got to be an x plus 1. 1 and 7 multiply to make 7, and they add to make 8. So from this point, we can now take out the common factor. It's x plus 7. Those will cancel out. So let's see what's left over. When we do that reducing, we've got that x minus 7 on top, and we've got the x plus 1 on the bottom of the fraction. There it is, our answer. Well, taking a look at the next one, we've got two trinomials, one on top, so that's going to factor to an x And then we were going to end up having two of the same sign, two opposite signs because they multiply to make a negative. So we have an x minus and an x plus. We just need to figure out where the numbers go. We know they're 5 and 1. We just need to figure out where the 5 goes. I'd put the 5 in front of the, or behind the plus sign, 1 behind the minus sign, because they need to subtract to make a positive 4. So that's why I had more positives than negatives. Down below, we're going to go with the two binomials again. X and x make the x squared. Numbers that multiply to make 3, but again, they're adding together because they're the same sign. So we're going to put a -1 and a -3. See, those will multiply to make a positive 3 and add to make that -4. So we go ahead and take out that common factor of x minus 1. Now those are gone, so we're just left with the expression x plus 5 over x minus 3. Well, the next one has a common factor on the top of the fraction, and I see x goes into both of those numbers. So I'm going to divide them both by x. Put the x on the outside, and I'm left with an x minus 2. And so from that point down below, we're left with a trinomial. So if this factors, it's going to be two binomials. So let's see what we get. X and x make the x squared. And then numbers that multiply to make 8 but subtract to make 2 would be 4 and 2. To make a positive 2 when they subtract, we want more positives than negatives. And then from that point, we can just cancel out those common factors of x minus 2. And seeing what's left, well, all we have is that x on top, and we've got the x plus 4 on the bottom. There is our answer. So that is simplifying rational expressions. And the key is you have to factor in order to cancel. Good luck on tonight's homework.